Greetings to you, my dear friends. We meet yet once again for our Dominion series. Super excited that we meet today. I'm dressed in this attire, which is quite strange and unique from the previous presentations. And obviously, this is due to the type of message that we want to discuss. A powerful message, which is power to emancipate many of us from the shackles of poverty. And the title of the presentations that we will be discussing in the coming next few weeks, is titled Gems from the Village Economy, a classic guide to country living as a tool for poverty eradication. And this is the message that we are going to be discussing. And today we'll focus basically on the introductory part, just to get an understanding of what this is all about. And so that we come to an appreciation of everything in its proper context. My name is Willard Madzimbamuto. I'm happy that we join together once again for our weekly presentations. Now, our society, dear brothers and sisters, as we all agree, is in a serious crisis, and more particularly a crisis that's arising from the poverty question. Tikatarisa mukati memaguta edu matiri kurarama, maguta matiri kugara, mune matambudziko akawanda. So there are a lot of reasons that people have proffered to justify the challenges that you're facing in our society today. There might be political reasons, there might be personal laziness, whatever, you name it. But I want to challenge you that as we are going to discuss and look into this particular subject, the power of the village economy, as a tool to transform and as a tool to transform us, I challenge you to look at it from a broader perspective. Now, as we look into the cities, now urban centers today, we have a high crime rate. There is serious accommodation crisis. We have challenges with basic social amenities. We have challenges with provision of clean water. We have challenges that relate to unemployment. We have challenges relating to the economic crisis, people deeply sunk in debt. And people generally are living from hand to mouth. There is a lot that we can discuss within the context of an urban setup. And I want to suggest to you that the power of the village economy is that it presents to us great economic opportunities, not only health considerations, but economic opportunities that are able to transform our lives. And let me hasten to point out that when the village economy is properly managed, there is no hunger in the village. There is no accommodation crisis in the village. There is no unemployment in the village. There is a powerful environment which provides for the best habitation for humanity, as we shall be discussing. But as we look into this particular subject, one is tempted to ask if indeed the village presents golden opportunities for us today. How do we explain the extent of depreciation of value, the extent of the deplorable state of the village in our day-to-day? You look into the village today, it is home to almost every non-governmental organization. In actual fact, a non-governmental organization does not need to struggle to find any place in most rural setups where they could offer some kind of help. You look at the state of the schools there, the state of the clinics there, they are in a deplorable state. People walk quite long distances to access school, to access these health facilities. There is serious deforestation that has taken place. You look at the soil, the natural environment, the terrain there, it's highly infertile. It can no longer support crops this very day. And akusisina mhuka dzakawanda, kwaimbenge kuine mombe, kwanga kuine mbudzi, kwanga kuine hwai nehuku dzakawanda, but ukaenda nhasi akuna. Unogona kutarisa even the state yemisha yacho, deplorable state. It's more of abandoned, hazvina kumira zvakanaka. And people have given this as a justification that I think nzvimbo idzi hadzichaite kuti tidzigare, ngatisiyane nadzo. And there is that kind of a challenge yatinosangana nayo or yatiri kusangana nayo as we discuss the context or the power of the village economy. But where is the problem? The missing link. Let me suggest to you that it is you and me, the chief culprits. Every person who has been a product of the village is highly culpable when you look at the extent to which these areas have depreciated in terms of economic value. When we look at ourselves, many of us are products of the village. Takabva kumusha. Tiri zvatiri because of the context and the power of the economic power of the village. That justifies what we are. In other words, ukabvisa the village contribution in most of our lives, panosara pasina chino. Now, these soils that we see today that are highly infertile were once fertile. So, what then happened? These areas that are kuona dzisisina miti yakawanda, dzakambenge dzine miti yakawanda. What happened? The very same areas that are kuona kusisina mombe, kusisina mbudzi, kusisina hwai, kusisina huku, kwaimbove kuine zvipfuwo zvakawanda, chii chakaitika? Nzvimbo dzese dzatava kuona idzi dzisisagarike dzaitombogarika, chii chakaitika? Like I said, you and me, in most cases, are the chief culprits. It's kind of the extent to which our areas are shika. Now, there is what I call the sacrificial nature of the village economy. The village was able to sacrifice everything that defines it. It was able to sacrifice every economic fundamentals on which it was built. It was able to surrender everything that it had for the sake of you and me. There was a limitation upon which the village economy was premised. It easily recognized its own shortfalls. That notwithstanding all this wealth that characterized the village setup, there was a desperate need for exposure. Saka vamwe vanogona kuti vakaendeswa kuzvikoro kana kuti vakaenda kuzvikoro, which is education, but personally I prefer the term exposure. So the village economy was able to send us to exposure, or to send us for exposure to the cities. The idea being that once we are exposed, we are able to link the village economy with the global economy. For this was the missing link in order to create a competitive advantage with respect to the village. But the sad news is most of us, we betrayed the village. So kana tikatarisa in this day, ivhu riri kumaruzeva, riri kuma-farming communities, kumamisha kwese kwakatitenderedza, riri kunzi nevanhu harisisina simba haricharima, that is the same soil rakatomborima. But because of the sacrificial nature of the village, it was able to produce until it became useless in order to send you and me for exposure, for the greater good even of the very same societies. Why kusisina mombe? Why kusisina hwai? Why kusisina mbudzi? Why kusisina huku? It is because zvipfuwo zvakawanda zvakatengeswa in order to send you and me for exposure, so that we are able to connect the village economic fundamentals to the global economic scale. You have people in the village, our elderly. They were prepared even to forego their health considerations to the extent that they were simply interested in facilitating an exposure for you and me. And once we got this exposure, we completely turned our back to the village. And let me suggest, dear brothers and sisters, it is because of this that indeed we have become a cursed people. The power of the village economic model lies in that it creates a solid foundation that is able to stand the test of time. This economic model upon which the village is premised is able to stand any economic dynamics that might affect any country. And this is the motivation that these series are all about. The challenges that are being faced in the towns or in the cities can easily be addressed with a corresponding serious investment in our rural communities. So it's very possible to eliminate hunger in our villages. And what we only want is to invest back in these communities. Kana mombe dzakatengeswa, kana mombe nembudzi nezvipfuwo zvakatengeswa kuti tiende kuchikoro. To create who we are today, what is only required of us is to reinvest back that which was given by the village in order to make us who we are today. The challenge only arises when we think we've acquired some form of education and intellectual achievement to such an extent that we forget the power of the village, which gave us a solid foundation to be who we are today. Saka chiri kungotsvaga zvipfuwo todzorera zvekare kuti zvinge zviri zvazvazviri. But not only that, because we've gained exposure of an international character, chiri kutsvagwa again is to improve the standard or the quality of the breed even of cattle that were in the village today. Chiri kutsvagwa is simply to fertilize the very same soil, to tap into the global phenomena insofar as how the soil techniques are concerned, how farmers are moving with the economic modern trends, and we reinvest in this very same soil. Chiri kutsvagwa is are we going to be able kuvaka dzimba with skill even in the village? Kudyara miti inokura zvakanaka in the village. To sink or invest in boreholes in the village. To invest even in solar energy in the village. And I want to challenge you. Maruzeva ese akarongeka. People long to go there. But for most of us, it's a serious crisis. You can't even spend a single night in the village because it's not habitable. You can't even take your family there over for the weekend because it's not habitable. Hakugarike, hapana pekurara, hakuna mvura, there's no lighting. They can't survive. Vamwe vanotorara kana vaenda parufu. But the sad thing is, avarare mudzimba vanotorara motikari, because even when you get to the village, your car is even a better place to sleep in than any other structure there, because there is nothing. We've put nothing in the village, even though we are products of the very same areas. And my challenge to you, my dear brothers and sisters, as we are going to embark in this exciting journey, let's reconsider our priorities. When the village is properly managed, when these communities find sufficient investment, there is no unemployment in the village. There is no hunger in the village. There is no accommodation crisis in the village. There is no overcrowding in the village. There is access to clean, uncontaminated water in the village. You don't fetch water in the village. Water ngakuiboilisa. That's foreign to the village, but it's prevalent in urban centers. So like I challenge you to look at this particular subject from a holistic, a broader perspective. All challenges that are facing urban centers today, they are of a global character. And unfortunately, Africa, being a developing continent, is most and severely hit. The challenge of unemployment is a global phenomenon. But the village presents great opportunities, even for our youngsters. It is not a haven for the uneducated. Neither is it a place for those who are waiting death through retirement. But it still presents great opportunities for the educated, able-bodied young people when it is properly managed. The challenge of accommodation in our urban centers. Visit most African cities. You realize that accommodation is an international, a global crisis. But the village, there is no accommodation crisis. There is no overcrowding. The environment is perfect, not only for health considerations, but even for economic considerations. There are great opportunities that the village can offer. And we are going to be discussing critical, powerful lessons that I did this kwapataikura tichibva kumaruzeva. But unfortunately, mukukura kwataita kubva kumusha, we missed the link and we are suffering. Unfortunately, nothing in the village and struggling in the city. And this is the chaos of our day. But I want to challenge you to fasten your seatbelts as we are going to embark on a powerful journey to discover the power of the economic village as a tool for poverty eradication. Thank you very much, my dear friends, for watching this exciting series. Please don't forget to like our Facebook page and have Dominion, subscribe to our YouTube channel and have Dominion, follow us through on our social media handles, Twitter and Instagram. And feel free to contribute. Let's engage constructively, and more particularly as we'll be discussing this powerful concept of the power of the village in terms of economic opportunities as a tool for emancipation against poverty. Till next week, thank you.